Okay, today is real talk. I'm going to talk about why your photography business is failing and, more importantly, what you can do to fix it. I'm assuming you clicked on this link. I'm assuming you're watching this video because your business isn't meeting your expectations. Your business isn't successful, whatever your definition of success is. That's okay. I'm here to help. Today I'm going to give you 8 tips on how you can improve your photography business. Stay tuned. Number 1, get a proper website. I can't tell you how many people have emailed me that want to come work for my commercial photography business, Mott Visuals, and they send me a link to their work and it's a link to their Instagram or a link to a Flickr account, which I didn't even know they still existed, or a link to an album on their Facebook page. If you're trying to be hired as a professional photographer, you need a professional website. You need to show people that you do this for a living. You need to instill confidence in someone that's going to hire you. And that confidence doesn't come from a link to a Facebook page or a link to an Instagram. It doesn't make me take you seriously. It doesn't make editors or potential clients take you seriously. So the first thing you can do is get a proper website. Tip number 2 is to strengthen your portfolio. And this is something you should be doing throughout your entire career, and it requires a little bit of self-analyzation. You need to look at how your work stacks up against the competition. So look at other photographers in the area, look at other photographers close by that are getting the kind of work that you want to get. Compare your work, be honest with yourself about where your work stands, and then fill in the gaps. If you're just starting out and you don't have a portfolio and you think to yourself, well, how am I going to get this work if no one's paying me to do it? How am I going to build my portfolio if I'm not getting hired to do it? Well, you have to go out there and make it happen. You need to be proactive. It's as simple as this. Go out there and shoot the kind of work that you want to get paid to do. When I first started out, I wanted to get work for the New York Times and Time Magazine and Newsweek. I wanted to do long form stories. I wanted to do photo stories and photo essays. But I didn't have the work to showcase. I didn't have the work to get my foot in the door. So what did I do? I didn't pout about it. I went out and shot work, and I went out and used my own time, my own money. I don't come from money. I wasn't independently wealthy. My parents don't have money. I saved up. I bartended. While I was going to school, I bartended full time, but I made time to tell these stories. I saved my own money and I used my own time to get the kind of work that I wanted to get paid to do. Tip number 3 is to go out there and find your style, and more importantly, learn how to sell that style to potential clients. You should be trying to find your own vision, not to copy someone else's. Early on in your career, it's easy to want to emulate people you look up to or your mentors. But copying their work is not going to help you grow as a photographer, and it's also not going to get you work. It's just going to make you a lesser version of them as a photographer. Finding your own vision, finding your own style is going to separate you from the pack. It's going to make you different and more unique and more sellable. Once you have that style and you have that vision, it's something you'll constantly be crafting, but once you get a good idea of how you like to shoot, if you like to use artificial lighting or natural light, if you like to do a lot of work in post-production, or you like a very minimalist look, once you have that style, the hard part is figuring out how to sell it. For me, I come from a background in editorial photography and photojournalism, so I shot very naturally, natural light and natural moments and telling stories. And then when I launched my commercial business, Mott Visuals, years later, I used that style, I used that vision for the commercial market. Now, it was tough in the beginning because a lot of people in that market, a lot of photographers doing commercial work for hotels and things like that, hotels and resorts, they use a lot of artificial lighting, they use a lot of retouching. But I was different. When I went to clients, I presented a unique style. I presented something that's very much me, very organic. And eventually that turned into shooting for intercontinental hotels. They liked the idea of natural images and natural style. It was different. I was doing something different than most people were doing in the market. And I became one of only a handful of photographers that's on their approved vendor list worldwide. And that's because I was selling them my vision. I wasn't selling it fake. This was very organic for me, very natural for me. This is something that I felt I was good at. This is something I felt could work for them, and it's something that could separate them from other hotels, and it separated myself from other photographers. So that turned into landing one of my biggest clients ever, was being different, knowing my vision, and then being able to sell that vision. Tip number 4 is ditch the negativity. A lot of photographers I know that aren't successful, a lot of photographers I know that are talented and don't get work, their biggest problem is out there. It's out in the rest of the world. They're blaming the rest of the world. They're blaming the industry. They're blaming photographer X and photographer Y. She's getting work because she's cheaper. He's getting work because he's better at networking. His work's crap, but he still gets work somehow. Stop blaming other people. Stop focusing on other people. Look inside yourself to see what the problem is. Those problems will exist. You can't control that. This is not a self-help bit, but Those things outwardly, you can't control those. You can control what's inside you. You can control how you change yourself and how you focus on your business and the time you put into your business. A great example of this is I get emails all the time from people that want to use my images for free, or they want to use my images and they offer me what? They offer me credit. Oh, we'll credit you. Great. Listen, I'm 42 years old. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't need credit. It's insulting to me. As a professional photographer who's done this for a long time, it's insulting. And it's very tempting to write back a condescending email. Don't do that. Take a breath, take a day, think about it. And I'll tell you why. These people aren't bad people. They're sending these emails just because they don't know our industry. So you can educate them. You can educate them in a way that's not condescending. I'll tell you, so many times I've emailed people back. I explain my rates. I explain the value of my equipment, and I explain my experience, and they understand. Oftentimes that will turn into a paid job or turn into a paid purchase. You don't have to be mean about it. You can actually write something nice. People might learn, they might understand it. Oftentimes I've emailed several photographers and most of them have written back pretty nasty emails. You can be the one that's different. You can be the one that's writing a nice email back. And that has turned into work for me. Tip number 5 is self-promoting and hustle. Self-promoting is not natural for everybody. People are shy sharing their work. They're afraid of ridicule, or they're afraid of bothering other people. I get that. I understand it. I've seen it a lot of times with photographers afraid to share their work, but it is essential. It's important to get your work out there. You need to get newsletters out there. You need to post new work on Facebook and on Instagram. You need to keep driving home that message. Who you are, what you do, where you're located. When I started in Vietnam, I was going back to New York. A lot of my clients were in the United States or in Europe. I had to keep driving that message home. Justin Mott, editorial photographer, Vietnam. Justin Mott, editorial photographer, Vietnam. Drive it home. Justin Mott. We'll keep going. But you need to drive that message home. People will remember it. It's to be patient. This one's hard for most people. You're eager to start your business. Maybe you're just graduating school and you're starting your photography business. Maybe you've quit your day job to start your wedding photography business, or you've decided to launch your commercial photography business and you expect to be a success overnight. It doesn't happen that way. I've had clients where I thought the meeting went well and then I don't hear anything for months. It's crickets, crickets, crickets. And then a year later they hire me, they remember. So give it time. And then one client can sometimes lead to 10 other clients, or one client from one job can lead to 10 more jobs for the client. It just takes time. You have to be patient. Don't expect for this to happen overnight. Don't give up if you're not doing well in the first month or even the first year. Tip number 7 is to emulate pro photographers and not influencers. I see so many young photographers try to follow the strategy of influencers. If you want to be an influencer, follow what they're doing. See how they got to where they're going. Look at their posts. See how they got to where they're at. But if that's not what you're trying to do, if you're trying to get professional photography assignments for clients, if you're trying to get editorial assignments, you're trying to shoot weddings, don't emulate these influencers. That is not going to work for you. It works for them. And this is not a knock on influencers. They make money off this work. Some of them make great money. A lot of them make more money than photographers. But if you're trying to start your photography business based on getting hired to do professional photo shoots, you need to follow other professional photographers, see what they're doing. And the 8th tip, and probably the most important, not probably, this is the most important, is to treat yourself like a business. Even if it's just you. You are a freelance photographer. You are a business. You are a small business, and you need to treat yourself that way. This is the mistake I see people make all the time. They launch their photography business, they expect to go shoot and then come home, and in between, do nothing. Shoot, edit, and that's it. That's not going to work. That's not sustainable. That's not going to get you work as a photographer. That's not going to grow your business. Photography will be ebbs and flows. You will have these huge ups and huge downs. You will have throughout your entire career. You'll have months where you're working nonstop like crazy, and then you'll have a month with nothing to do or no shoots. During that downtime, you need to be disciplined. You need to treat that time like a business. You need to keep regular hours. Even if you have a few months without a photo shoot, keep regular hours. So it doesn't mean you have to do 9 to 5. Figure out what hours work for you. A photography business is much more than going out there and taking pictures. You are essentially the head of your entire business. When you're just starting off, you're the head of business development. You're the head of marketing. You're the head of accounting. You're the head of PR. All these things you're in charge of. So you need to learn these things. You need to go out and learn the essentials. You need to think about money. You need to think about what are you going to do if you had 3 months off because you were injured. Are you going to be able to survive that? Have you put money aside to be able to get through those downtimes, or just a bad time in the economy? How are you going to get through that? You need to think about the future, both financially and strategy. What if you're a wedding photographer in your 30s and you're really busy right now, but what are you going to do in your 50s and 60s? Maybe you'll still get work, but maybe not. Will you have the money to be able to get through that? What are you going to do for work every day? You have to think about these things. Maybe you're going to be teaching workshops. Maybe you've grown your business into having other photographers work for you. The successful ones that last later in life, that are successful financially later in life, are the ones that plan for the future. So you have to start to think about these things now. Do you have a retirement plan? It does not sound like fun to put aside money now, but if you start doing it in your 20s and 30s, by the time you reach your 40s and 50s, you will have savings. I have a Vanguard account. I put away a certain amount of money every single month, automatically comes out of my account and into my Vanguard account, into a mutual fund that I can't touch. Start with whatever you can. If you can start with $50, $100, a few $100s, whatever it is, just make it automatic, make it part of your budget. So it's going to be tempting to buy new gear, and that can be fun, but put aside money every single month, because later in life, your friends that have 401ks and their companies have maxed out, you won't have that. So you have to think about the future. You have to plan for the future, both financially and strategy-wise. Those are all my tips for today, guys. Sorry if I sounded preachy, and I promise my future vlogs will be a lot more exciting and happier, but I just felt the need to get this information out there. I've made some of these mistakes. I've seen dear friends make these mistakes, and I don't want you to make the same mistake. I hope you learned something today, and if you have any questions, please ask in the comment section. And if you enjoyed today's talk, if you enjoyed my preachiness to you, take a moment and subscribe. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.